You've probably heard all about Velma at this point, right? The newest Scooby Doo adaptation? You've probably had several videos related to it in your recommended feed. I certainly have, and just about every single one of them has called the show one of the worst things ever produced in human history. Can it really be as bad as everyone's saying it is?
Yes. Hey, stop. In this day and age, you can't speculate about someone's sexuality unless they're famous or Peppermint Patty.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
Yeah, I'm not gonna beat around the bush here, this shit sucks. It's about as bad as everyone says it is, just aggressively unfunny throughout, but with a real note of bitterness that hangs around the whole thing. Then again, it's not like I can act too shocked about it. The red flags were coming up as soon as the first ever teaser for this shit dropped.
If there is one thing the internet agrees on, it's that you should never change anything ever. I hope you die. Sincerely, Velma.
That was truly cringeworthy.
Maybe it's just my own personal bias talking, but there are a few things I find more pathetic than a writer using his medium as a means to quote-unquote clap back at the haters, and Velma announced itself to the world doing exactly that. It just reeks of insecurity, and I mean, you're hitting out at imaginary haters before your show has even established any sort of footing or identity for itself. I don't think anyone really cared all that much. And really, you're gonna act like you're doing something wildly different and that people aren't going to like change? It's the Scooby Doo IP. Scooby Doo is all about change. Literally every adaptation is different. Like, what if we took Scooby Doo and made it darker and more continuity driven, like in Mystery Incorporated? Or what if Scooby Doo had to team up with the WWE? There are two of these, by the way. Or what if Scooby and the gang had to get up into all sorts of crazy shenanigans with Courage the Cowardly Dog? Or what if Scooby Doo and Shaggy introduced an entire generation of impressionable kids to the Monster Girl genre? And what exactly are you doing that's different? Oh, your Scooby-Doo show is violent and has edgy stuff in it. Wow, nice job breaking new ground there with a Newgrounds humor. I'm not gonna give this show a full-on review or anything because, well, there are only so many ways I can say, this isn't funny or this sucks before it starts to get repetitive. Doesn't even wrap around to being so bad it's good or anything like that, or even ironically funny. No, it's just bad and unpleasant throughout.
He called the program the Special Covert Operations Brain Initiative, or Scooby.
Scooby? And wait, what did Scooby do?
Oh my god, bro. Oh, hell no, man. What the fuck, man?
I will watch cute anime girls play video games without a hint of shame, but I would be fucking embarrassed if anyone walked in on me watching this show. There you go, there's your review. It's embarrassing and just not funny. But what I'd rather talk about is, well, I'm kind of intrigued by the background of this show. Generally, the sense that it shouldn't exist in the first place. And I don't mean that in the sense of, haha, this show is so bad that it should be wiped out of existence. It should be, but that's not what I'm referring to here. Rather, I'm referring to the fact that this show feels like it was never meant to be a Scooby-Doo show, and that it was instead forcibly turned into one by executive meddling. If there's one thing that's become increasingly common in recent years, it's for stand-up comedians to create their own animated sitcoms. You got things like The Sleep Paralysis Demon Show, or F is for Family. Please watch F is for Family, it's really good, don't let the shitty art direction fool you. And Mindy Kaling is theoretically a comedian in the same way Seagal is theoretically an action star, so I wouldn't be shocked if she said to herself, hey, I want to do one of those animated comedy thingamajigs. After all, the titular Velma is such a blatant self-insert for Kaling that she bears next to no resemblance to the actual Velma from Scooby Doo. Just her own little animated hand puppet she can use to spew all her snarky bile and fourth wall breaking quote-unquote jokes. So, hypothetically, if this was an original idea at some point, all you would need to do is put a pair of glasses and an orange sweater onto Mindy Kaling's self-insert and all of a sudden, bam, you've got Velma. But I feel this theory of mine is further enhanced by the fact that none of the other Scooby-Doo characters feel even remotely similar to the source material. Now, of course, you can make changes for the sake of adaptation, but that's not really what's going on here. Yeah, they share the names and a few superficial elements with the Scooby-Doo characters, but these are only skin-deep comparisons. They don't even have a dog, for crying out loud.
Third level, lots of luck.
Fred, for instance, has none of the same golden retriever himbo energy that he has in just about any other Scooby Doo adaptation. He isn't particularly jockish, or a trap enthusiast, or much of an investigator, or a leader. He looks like Fred, but has none of the characteristics that are really tied into who Fred is as a character. The only thing about Fred in this show is that he is a blonde white dude, and as far as Mindy Kaling is concerned, that makes him the most evil person to have ever lived. If nothing else, it's certainly impressive they got an amazing comedic actor like Glenn Howerton on board for the character and then gave him next to nothing funny to do. Daphne is perhaps a more debatable case when it comes to discussing shitty adaptations because she's generally speaking one of the least defined members of the Scooby Gang. But one of the most consistent things about her as a character is that she's, well, nice, and this show couldn't even get that part right. She's an asshole. But then again, just about every character in Velma is an asshole.
Sure, normally origin stories are about tall, handsome guys struggling with the burden of being handed even more power. Oh, would you look at that?
But I think the worst offender when it comes to shitty character adaptation, and perhaps one of the biggest reasons why I feel this show was never meant to be a Scooby-Doo show, is what they ended up doing to Shaggy. Or Norville, as he's called here, for whatever fucking reason. Out of just about every Scooby-Doo character, aside from, the dog, Shaggy is perhaps the most defined out of all of them. Just hearing the name Shaggy has probably conjured an image of him in your mind already. Lanky, scruffy, cowardly, always hungry, lovable, unfunny power level memes, etc. But Norville, aside from the fact that he wears a green shirt, has basically nothing in common with Shaggy. Well, that and a few half-assed stoner references.
I think it has something to do with drugs, which I hate.
Damn, bro. That was mad funny.
Yeah, that whole thing about Shaggy being a stoner that people have been memeing about for years, it's a whole lot funnier when there's no actual references to drugs anywhere near him in an actual show.
Because of the implication.
Yeah, then again, it's not like I can expect this show to know how to craft a joke, considering the height of comedy for these people is Fred has a small dick. And really, the only other thing about Norville as a character that makes him stand out is that he's a massive sim for Mindy. Velma. Gosh, how did I get those two mixed up? They're just so distinct from each other. So, yeah, it's really easy to get the impression these are just random-ass characters that were forced to cosplay as Scooby-Doo characters. But why Scooby-Doo specifically? Well, it's an incredibly popular brand that's never really left the public consciousness ever since it was first debuted. Whether it be through new TV series or direct-to-DVD movies, Scooby-Doo has never really gone away, and we do live in an age where studios are increasingly wary about doing anything that doesn't have a big brand name attached to it. So, yeah, I find it really easy to believe that someone at WB said, okay, we'll make your show, but it has to become a Scooby-Doo adaptation for us to greenlight it. And, well, I also get the impression they wanted to make another show like Harley Quinn. Whatever else you might say about that show, it's at least funny in places, and it does feel like it was built from the ground up to actually be a show about Harley Quinn and the DC universe. And Velma, on the other hand, is just shit. And it's undoubtedly shit that's going to get a second season, if not more, because we are in hell and we must be made to suffer more for our sins.